Hi, my name is Dan Tartaglia. In this video, we will go over how to create simple dimensions that track with a video clip. This is DaVinci Resolve Studio. I took away the media pool and the effects windows for now to make the screen bigger. You'll see a couple of different examples here of having dimensions on a video clip. And let me go through them real quick. The first two clips are the same, except for a minor change, and they're both vertical. The third clip, we're flying into a garage building. And the last two clips are the same, flying sideways with a small change. You'll see what I mean in a second. So here's this clip. See how fast the dimension goes by. Second one, I pause. See, it's easier to see the dimension, then I keep going. The third clip, we're flying to this garage door, and it's a little different because of how it has to be. This clip, we're flying sideways, and again, we're just seeing it fairly quick. And then the same clip, and we pause it again. I like pausing it just because it's easier to see the dimension and it adds a little length to the video as well. Here's the first dimension we're going to create. Here's the vertical video that I had before without the dimension. So let's go to the beginning of this clip here, which is where the dimension is going to go. I'll pick the clip and I'll go to the Fusion page. So here's a Fusion page. I'm at the beginning of the clip. First thing you need to do is add a tracker. So I want to track this corner and this corner here. And that's where my dimension is going to go. So I'll pick median 1, do a shift spacebar, and type in track. And let's move our tracker someplace where it's going to be able to track all the way through, which is hard to do sometimes. This is a pretty complicated little area. I'll click operation and I'll choose match move. Go back to tracker and just track it forward. I'm already at the beginning of the clip. Okay, now I'll create another tracker. Let's go back to the beginning of the clip. So I'll pick this tracker and I'll do a shift space bar and just hit enter since tracker is already selected. And we move this tracker over here. And do the same thing. Operation, match move. Back to tracker, and then we'll track that one. Okay. Hold down my control button and use my mouse wheel to make this a little bit, zoom in a little bit more. There you go. Okay, so we have two trackers. Let's separate them a little bit. I'll pick tracker 1 and I'll do a shift space bar and type in paint. So paint shown here, I hit enter. Now what I want to do is I want to create a line for my dimension. So I want to go up here, I'll paint selected and choose polyline stroke. And for now I'm just going to place a line, 2 points here, doesn't matter where. And I'll go to my brush controls. First I'm going to choose square so that it's not fuzzy, it's not round, it's square. And for now we'll choose a different color. Could be any color you want. We'll choose this purple here. Hit OK. And I'll make it a little thinner, maybe half the width. Now these lines can be tricky, how they're handled. First thing I want to do though is I want to be able to attach this line to the tracker, which is be tracker 1. So while it's selected, which it currently is, I'm going to go to stroke controls, right click on center, and choose connect to tracker 1 path, track 1 path and position. Now if I go back into my here, if I run my video here, you can see it's on tracker 1, even though it's further away from it, but it's lined up with tracker 1. Okay, so the tricky part right now is getting this line to be closer and to where I want it to be placed. If I grab this corner here, notice what it does. That's not what I want, so I'll undo. If I grab this line here, it will let me change the angle, but let me undo that one again for a second. Kind of the trick is I'll pick it here, and then there's only 2 corners now. Before there was more than 2 corners. If I grab this corner here now, it'll grab it like it's a line. So I'm going to take this guy here and line it up with that tracker. I'll use control middle wheel to navigate, and maybe we'll just put it a little bit away from there, and we'll just make this a straighter line. It's all by eye. I mean, my video is not exactly straight to begin with. Let's zoom out a little bit here, see what we got. A little far out for my taste. Let's pull this in a little bit. Okay, so that's my first of my dimension lines. Next, I'm going to create another dimension line for the other tracker, and all I have to do is pick this paint 1, do a copy, unselect everything, do a paste, and I'm going to hold my shift button in as I drag this on the other side of tracker 2 in the line, and then let go of my mouse button. Now, I essentially have 2 lines on top of each other right now. It's paint 1 and paint 1-_1. I need to change this one, so I'm going to go to modifiers, and I'm going to right click on center and remove this from tracking the first tracker, and then I'm going to change it and connect to the second tracker path position, and notice what it did. If I run my video, there you go. Okay. Next, we need to make a line that's vertical. I'm going to take paint 1 here, which is attached to this tracker. Just do a copy paste. I'll put it right next to each other. So copy. I'll just do a paste. So in reality, they're right there next to each other. Okay, so we have this guy here. I may have pulled the wrong one. Doesn't really matter, to be honest, which one I use. Actually, it didn't connect it. I thought it did. Okay, let's connect it to hold my shift button in and put it on the line. Oh. Okay, there it goes. So that's now 2 lines on top of each other again, but I'm going to change that by going to modifier, and I could just change this to 90 degrees to start off with, and then hit tab. You'll see the line is there. if I run my video, it would just track on tracker 1 because that's what it's currently assigned to since I just copied this one. And we're going to keep it that way for now. However, I have to obviously move that one. So let's pick the line here, and I'm going to actually put a window around that line. And I'm going to take the ends and move them. Whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, let's try this. Undo, and do that again. And we'll just take this endpoint here. And for now, just stick it right there. And we'll take this endpoint here. And we're going to just eye it for this. You can make it as accurate as you want. If I zoom out a little bit and unselect everything, if I go to the end of the track, if I go to the beginning of the track, I want to make sure that that line looks okay. It's sticking out a little bit up here, so I'm just going to pick the line and just drag this back a little bit. Okay. Now I want to go back to the whole video. Okay, and unpick everything, and then beginning of the track and end of the track. Okay, and then I'll just run it. So that's really the initial part of it right there. Not rocket science or anything, but it does the job. Okay, now I'm going to add those just a diagonal element here for the end of these lines to make it look a little bit better. And it's nothing, it's going to be very similar. I'll move these guys down a little bit. And I'll just take, I'll just take this one here, it doesn't really matter. Control C, Control V, so that it puts it in next to it. So now these two are on top of each other, and go to modifiers, and I could a lot of things I could do, but honestly all I really have to do is pick it here, and let's move it so that it not on top of the other line. So there you go right there. So it's just basically adjusting the line. So I already assigned the tracker 1. I could change the stroke so it's not square, maybe it's round. Well, it's too thick though. Let me change the width of it. But it's probably right here. Like that. And let's just drag this guy here so that's a little bit nicer. Fortunately, I'm gonna just eye the angle. I'm not gonna be too careful with that. And then that's that. Let's take this tracker. So again, to know which one it is, it's right there. So I'm gonna copy this one, Control C, and I'm gonna just click in space and do a Control V. So this is that. Let me put on that line. This is a copy of this diagonal line. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to pick that one. I'm going to go by modifier, and I'm going to do the same thing by going to center, remove tracker 1, center, and then connect to tracker 2 position. And it almost came exactly where I wanted, but not quite. But let's just make sure it's picked here, and then create a window, and let's move this guy to where I want it to be. I wish I could just move the whole item, but I don't know a way of doing that, so it's more or less eyeing it. So let's zoom out a little bit. Again, there's so much more you could do. I'm just not doing everything I could do, but let's make sure everything's good. So here's the front of my track, the end of my track. So the front of my track and the end of my track. Not bad. And we'll play it. So simple as that. Again, I may change the colors, I may do other things, but that's the gist of creating that dimension. There's dimension lines. Next is the text. So let's do this. Let's move this guy over here a little bit, and we're going to use tracker 1 for the text here. So let me just push this back here a little bit and pick this first. I'll just put it right there after that one. So shift space bar, text, add. Now it's going to add more than just text. It's going to add a merge, which is good in this case. And I'll just move this down here just so make it a little bit neater. So here's my text. So let's say I want it to be whatever I want it to be, 3 feet 0 for now. And maybe I'll change this to be semi-bold italic, and also change the color to be, I think I used that color there. And then we got to rotate it though, because obviously it's not rotated. So let's go to, I believe, layout, and let's use the Z here and see what that does for us. Okay, so that's going to rotate the text, make it 90. So I'm going to move the text, pick it, then move it over to there. And let's just zoom out a little bit. Notice it's not attached to anything though, so I didn't attach it to any of my trackers yet. So let's attach this to a tracker. So I'll go to text, and we'll go to center here and connect to tracker 1. I'll zoom a little bit here. There's a little bit of a trick here in that if I try to move this right now, it moves more than just that object, as you can see, which is not what I want. So I'm going to undo. To move this text correctly, pick the merge instead. I have to move this text, so let's track a little bit forward. Okay. Pick merge 1, and then we need to move the text. And to do that, I want to try using the X and the Y here instead of doing the way I did the lines, the paints. So if I can do this, put that there, and maybe down a little bit, and let's zoom out a little bit here, unselect everything, and if I track to the beginning, track to the end, it looks pretty good. So if I go here and back to the edit page and play, there we go. Last thing I'm going to do right now, and again, there's probably a lot of things you can do. So I'm going to add a transition for this real quick here so that it doesn't just pop in and pop out. What I'll do is I'll open up my effects and go across the Zav here, and I'm going to put it completely within the clip. On both sides. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is just zoom. Let's get rid of this because it takes up so much space. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here, Alt, and use my middle mouse bar. So I'm going to make these transitions a little smaller. In this case, I'm going to make them 15 seconds each. Personal preference. So when I run it, let me zoom out a little bit. Comes in and goes out. Last thing I'm going to do is, it comes in really, it really doesn't last that long on the screen, as you can tell. That might be fine in most cases. A lot of times I'll just, find a good spot, like maybe like right there, for example, and I'll create a slide. So go to File, go to Export, and create a still, I should say. And we'll create a still right there. And then we'll just cut this right here. I have a shortcut, but I'll just use a razor blade. And what I'll do is I'll just take this and let me zoom out a little bit. And move these guys out of the way. And let's grab that still. So that whenever it comes in, it stops there. And 5 seconds is way too long for a still, so I'm going to change this to, I know we just do a Control D, but Control D is right here. Change clip duration. So I'll make you, I don't know, 3 seconds for the heck of it. Change. Take these guys, put it there. Okay, and then if I run the clip again, stops there. It could be shorter, and it keeps going. So that's it for that clip. I could make the lines thinner. I could do other things to it. That's just, right now, that's the very basics of how to make that work. This one here is a little more tricky because when you're moving in, if you notice, doing this kind of tracking really requires vertical, horizontal to be kind of accurate, to be more seamless. If it's any other angle, it's harder, and including if you go in or out, just because of the nature of, you can't have a polyline that's tracked on both ends. At least not that I've found so far, at least. And it's just the fact that it's slightly different, and because it's going in and out. So if I go back to my Fusion page, and then pick on Media 1, go to Tracker 1, or Tracker, I should say. And we're going to do almost the same thing in that respect, but a little different. So if I go here and I want to track, say I want to track that corner. Operation, and go back to Match Move. Did I go to the beginning of this track? I don't remember, but I'll track it both directions just to be safe. Something they added in more recent versions, rather than track just forward or backwards. So I'll just do track both directions. Okay. And let's create another tracker. Control spacebar, or shift or control spacebar, add. And let's put this tracker on this corner. I could do this more accurately, but let's see, that should work. Operation, match move, back to tracker, and I'll just track in both directions. Okay, so let's go let's move these guys over a little bit. And we're doing a very similar method right now, so I'll go faster. Okay, we have our lines in here. We can't put a horizontal line in because moving closer and further away is gonna, you can't track both ends of a polyline. So I'm gonna place a piece of text in here right now. Actually, I'll put a tracker in first for the text. So let's just do that real quick. So I'll just go to track, add, let's put tracker 3 close to the center as I can. But track something that makes sense, like one of these mortars joints. Okay. And go to option or operations, match move, and we're going to track it in both directions. Okay. Now we're going to add a piece of text, so I'll pick tracker 3, do Control or Shift space bar, type in text, hit add. It'll add a merge, and I'll also add the text. I'll just put this back under here like the last time. And we'll just make this one 12 feet. And we'll make you black. Let's assign merge 1 to this tracker. To tracker 3. And let's change the size of this text, of course. Maybe I'll make it also italic, semi-bold. And let's just see what it looks like when we go back and forwards. Okay. It's not bad. I can probably push it up a little bit. I'm using a merge, by the way, to move it up and down. Okay. And what I did last time was I added another text. This text is just going to be an underline. I just want to have a text that goes underneath that. And then we're going to do this, and then we're going to anchor this merge here. Let me see something real quick here. Let's just play this forward. Let's draw the underline first. So let's say we have a underline. Let's bring this down a little bit, maybe like that. Make it black. And then we're going to move this up a little bit. So let's assign this merge to a tracker, tracker 3. You can move the text. Maybe down like that. Let's just see how it looks real quick. Okay, could be worse, could be better. Let's just make this, let's go to the front. And let's just bring this either underneath the text or all the way across, one or the other. It's not going to stay there. So if I hit to the end, it'll be like that. That's the only issue. So sometimes I just put the text underneath this text instead of across the whole thing. And to do that, I could just do something like this. and then get rid of this, and it's a matter of just adjusting. Like that maybe. And if I do back forwards, it stays under that text instead of trying to fit the whole line, which you can't. So that could be an option. And the other, then the rest of it really is the same as before. We have to add a tracker that goes this way. Actually, we use the same tracker here, but I have to add a tracker for down here. So I'll just do a Control Shift here, do a track again. And it's basically the same thing, rinse and repeat. We're going to have to do the same thing as we did before. Place the text, and I'm going to add another tracker in here so that it can track somewhere in between here. So let's just add another tracker. So let's do it out. Let's go both directions and see what we got. Not bad. Let's go back to the main screen, edit screen, and run it. And that's kind of what I wanted to show you. And we'll add cross dissolve again just inside that clip. And again, I make them about 15 seconds instead of a minute. And then we'll run it. Again, the moral of this story is that it's not going to be simple, and it has to be, it typically works best if you're working horizontally or vertically rather than in or out or on a specific angle, a different angle. Like this way here, it's much smoother because it's vertical. But if I was on a 45-degree angle, it'd be a lot harder to do. But that's pretty much all I wanted to show you for today. I hope this video was helpful for some of you. Thank you for watching it. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.